Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked, where I climb the online Series 12 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. In the previous episode, which I've linked down in the description below, we tried out a really fun team that was a recreation of the Japanese National Championship winning team from 2004, almost 2 decades ago. And this team has all kinds of crazy stuff like NINJASK as well as Weather Ball, Life Orb Ludicolo, So Do Latios, Weakness Policy Metagross. And so, yeah, it was created by the exact player that won that national championship. They transferred a lot of their Pokemon over throughout all the generations, and now they are here in Sword and Shield. And so, the last episode was really fun. Looking forward to a couple of more exciting games here today. But thank you so much as always for watching, especially in these last couple of weeks before Scarlet and Violet. I know so many people have kind of tuned out from Pokemon in general, especially right before Scarlet and Violet. So it means a lot that a lot of you continue to come out and watch these videos even as we wrap up, this 3-year game. And so it means a lot to me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. If you enjoy, please share support by leaving a like. I'd really appreciate it. And question of the day, I want to know what your most prized Pokemon is down in the comment section below, given I think it's so cool that a lot of these Pokemon literally have been transferred over all the way from Gen 3. So let me know in the comment section below, and let's get started. We got a Froslass and a Tauros here, as well as Whimsicott, Incineroar, Zamazenta, and Zacian. Very cool. I can't remember the last time I really fought against Froslass Tauros. The idea is to just get Tauros to +6 attack. It's interesting to see Zacian and Zamazenta as well. I mean, just a fascinating team in general. I feel like Latios Metagross can be solid here. Another approach could be like Dynamax NINJASK and just max Airstream plus Water Spout Kyogre. I think that's fairly viable as well. Ludicolo's okay here. I don't know. Honestly, the idea of maxing NINJASK just sounds really fun to me. So even though I think Metagross is maybe objectively a better max option, I still want to go for max NINJASK. We'll see what the lead is, but I'm down for NINJASK Kyogre lead here because they have very few ways to actually resist Kyogre's attacks. Like, the only real resistance is Whimsicott, but is that even a real resistance? Like, it's Whimsicott, right? The one thing to watch out for, I guess a couple things, like Snarl, Wide Guard, for example, from Zamazenta could be a problem, so we want to be a little bit careful about that. It's going to be Whimsicott Froslass. Okay. It's interesting because, like, I honestly would expect both of these Pokemon to carry Focus Sash. Could be, I don't know, Scarf Froslass, but I think us having the Sash on Shedinja here is fairly valuable. However, I do think I'm going to choose to not Dynamax here. I'm just going to dual Wing Beat into Whimsicott and then just Water Spout here. I guess it could be, like, Destiny Bond. I always thought Destiny Bond is just a really interesting move that doesn't see as much play in VGC. And in 2017, I used the Drifloom Tapu Lele team to win a regional championship. They actually go for Ally Switch. Okay. And the Drifloom had Destiny Bond, which is pretty sweet. Okay, so they're going to Ally Switch and Tailwind. That makes sense. It allows Whimsicott to hang around for a little bit longer, but we'll KO Froslass. So I don't mind that because, like, it does disable our dual Wing Beat, though. That's funny. Okay. We'll get a KO there. Do a ton of damage into Whimsicott. Like, I think that trade is totally worth it for me. As a double Cursed Body comes out. Oh my gosh. I love playing in the beginning of a ranked season because you get to see so many crazy things. And it's Eject Button Whimsicott as well. Very interesting. Okay. I think my opponent was probably Focus Sash on Froslass then and hoped to essentially get Whimsicott ejected out so then Tauros could come out next to it. But their strategy is just completely ruined now after that, I think. Maybe there's another way for them to self-activate Policy though on Tauros. Or sorry, not Policy, Anger Point. And I saw one question in the previous video saying, how is he playing Series 12? The ranked ladder for the last couple of weeks in Sword and Shield is just back to Series 12. And so, we had this crazy format with Series 13 with all the restricteds and mythical Pokemon allowed. So we're just back to what the format for the last couple of months has been. Okay, so Zacian comes out. Let's see. I've got Choice Scarf Groudon. I really would love to max NINJASK. Okay, let's say I max it. They can max Strike me, right? Which is part of the problem. I guess you could double up onto the Kyogre slot. I want to max NINJASK. I think we have a decent lead, and I think I can maybe get away with it. So I'm going to max and go for Airstream plus Origin Pulse. Basically, the idea here is, okay, yeah, my opponent set up Tailwind, but NINJASK is getting a speed boost every turn. If I Airstream, I'm getting another speed boost on top. My opponent's offense entirely relies on Tauros and Zacian right now, so Yeah, the ally switch is actually a pretty clever strategy, right? Because when you have eject button on Whimsicott, like if I targeted the Froslass slot instead, with the Ninjask, for example, it gets redirected into Whimsicott. Whimsicott sets up Tailwind, and then if you have Focus Sash on the Froslass, then you bring in Tauros, self-activate your Anger Point, and then Tauros can really sweep under Tailwind at +6 attack from there. But it's going to be a lot harder for my opponent now. Okay, so here we are towards the end of Sword and Shield VGC, where I'm Dynamaxing a Ninjask, and my opponent is Dynamaxing a Tauros. Definitely would not have expected this, but hey. That's why I wanted to, part of the reason why I wanted to use this team, right? I mean, come on. So Max Ninjask is out now. This thing, by the way, takes literally 100% damage from everything. So they're going to Behemoth Blade. That's fine. Okay, into the Ninja slot, actually. I honestly really was surprised like they didn't double up into Kyogre, because I felt like Max Kyogre felt like such the obvious option from my end. Maybe Ninjask just goes down and doesn't get a hit off here, honestly. But it's going to be Quake. Okay, yeah, so they're splitting their damage here, which makes sense. Should do a sizable amount, but it's really not too much, honestly. Only 50 damage at the end of the day. It does critically grant them a special defense boost, though, so that's important. I was kind of worried about Max Strike there, because then you would get a speed drop onto my end, but it's not bad damage from Airstream. I'll take it. I wonder if I can KO Zacian with the Max Quake. But given that Zacian's at +1 special defense now, I don't think Origin Pulse will really do that much damage. It's still not bad, though. I'll take it. Okay, so they still have a couple turns of Tailwind left. 2, I believe. Ninjask is at +3 attack. Yep. Kyogre is at +1 speed. We both just committed Dynamax. I've got Bullet Punch on this thing as well as Earthquakes. I'm feeling pretty good about the end game with Groudon as well as Zacian. Kind of looking to just stall out their Dynamax right now. Here I'm down to Max Guard, honestly, and just go for another Origin Pulse. I think that's fine. Even if they target the Kyogre slot, so be it. I get a free switch in. And honestly, both Metagross and Groudon are fairly strong here. I think the main thing about my opponent's strategy is that it relies really heavily on having, like, they had Whimsicott, Tauros, and Froslass, right? So they only brought one restricted Pokemon. And so if you don't get the Froslass-Tauros combination off, it's really hard to sweep. And it's a good example of why, like, specific strategies can be difficult to execute in competitive Pokemon, right? Where it's like, okay, if you get it to work, it looks amazing, but how often are you able to get it to work, right? Tauros does launch a Max Strike this time around. Let's see if we can survive it. Quick didn't really do that much. Yeah, we take that pretty well. Nice. And Tauros' attack just is not exactly the most impressive. That's why he kind of, you know, relies on Froslass to activate it. Origin Pulse there almost just picks up a double KO. Ninjask gets another speed boost, negating that speed drop from earlier. And that's pretty sweet because now I can just outspeed. And I'm at +3 speed. So I'm down to just go for a Max Quake here, get the knockout onto Zacian. I think that would KO even through Protect. And at this point, Thunder is 100% accurate and should finish off Tauros. So yeah, Ninjask is going to go for the Max Quake here. So that's going to finish off Zacian. Maybe Tauros finishes off the Kyogre, but then, yeah, I just get to bring in Groudon or Metagross, and Metagross is looking really solid into my opponent's team. And that's what I was saying, right? I was like, okay, we could probably approach the game with Metagross instead, but I just think Dynamax Ninjask is fun, and in the one battle we had in the previous episode, I Dynamaxed Ninjask, but ended up losing, and so I wanted to, you know, try to get a win with it, because ultimately my goal with this team is to just to feature all the Pokemon at least once, which I was actually very happy we were able to accomplish in the previous episode, and also just make some fun plays. So, yeah. Anyway, even in a non-restricted format, I would have never expected to see Ninjask and Tauros, and somehow here in a restricted format we have both, which is cool. So, I'll bring out Metagross now. Okay, so Whimsicott comes back out. Now we can just Bullet Punch and Dual Wing Beat fairly easily. And also, yeah, like, some of you pointed out how cool the ribbons were, or on the Pokemon, the names. And it's cool because, yeah, these Pokemon, I think, legitimately were the same Pokemon that the Japanese national champion from 04 used way back in the day, which is so crazy to see, right? Like, Pokemon that are just that old coming all the way up. You can see Hoenn region. This one's from this gen, but yeah. So, let's see. Night Slash into Tauros and Bullet Punch into Whimsicott. I think it's fine. I mean, Whimsicott here can get a potential priority attack off, but it doesn't really matter. Okay, and they're not going to go for it. Bullet Punch here should just get the KO. Oh, wow, it doesn't actually. Okay, what is Whimsicott going for? Moonblast? Yeah, that's fine. With Bullet Punch, like, we can always just KO Tauros anyway. I could have gone the other way around, like Bullet Punch the Tauros, dual wing beat Whimsicott. Didn't really think it made much of a difference, especially with the Groudon still waiting in the back. So, you know, figured either path gets me to the victory. But yeah, I'm just happy we maxed NINJASK here. And like, there was good logic for it, right? Because if my opponent didn't bring Whimsicott and they led like Froslass and Tauros immediately, the idea is I can just Airstream into Water Spout, and that gives them a lot of trouble, right? So it was to cover for what I thought was the biggest threat on my opponent's side, essentially. So just go for Heat Crash here. Don't risk missing. Bullet Punch into Tauros here. We can this time target Tauros because Whimsicott's not really doing much, and we know Tauros is protected. But yeah, I think like that's one of the tough things about VGC, right? Like you can theoretically make any strategy work, but for some strategies you have to work a lot harder than others. I think the way my opponent designed the Whimsicott Tauros Froslass strat was honestly really smart. I just think unfortunately in a format with so many powerful restricted Pokemon like Kyogre, Groudon, you know, it can be a little bit difficult to execute properly. But you know, I think what they're doing is probably the best way you can make that combination work, honestly. I was also thinking, like, can you do anything funky with Choice Scarf Froslass if it's Scarf instead of, like, Focus Sash, for example? That's my other line of logic. But yeah, I think the thing is, in the end, my opponent ended up with two really supportive Pokemon in Whimsicott and Froslass. A Tauros that didn't get enabled, and then just Zacian. And so it's like, you know, as soon as I see those Pokemon, I know, okay, Zacian's going to be the one Zacian's not going to be the one Dynamaxing. Tauros is going to be the one Dynamaxing. But the fact we were able to just KO Froslass so quickly was big. And so Shedinja Kyogre applying a lot of offensive pressure immediately. I'm fairly happy about that. Okay, next game here is Lunala Groudon, but not very similar to most of the Lunala Groudons that dominated throughout Series 12, right? You would expect to normally see things like Charizard, Venusaur, Incineroar. They do have a Grimmsnarl, but like no Regieleki, for example. Instead, it's Landorus, Amoonguss, Grimmsnarl, Rillaboom with Groudon Lunala. I'm not gonna lie, like, NINJASK is still intriguing to me here, because I can dual wing beat things. I can max Darkness into Lunala, and I can also max Airstream to give Kyogre a speed boost. Choice Scarf Groudon feels really weak here. I just don't think I can do that much with it, but I guess I can Heat Crash things. I think Latios Metagross is certainly an approach I can take as well. Ludicolo feels like it can be super solid here, right? Because, like, I can Dynamax it, I can Icy Wind it. Icy Wind with it, I should say. Yeah, I'm kind of down for the Ludicolo NINJASK lead with Groudon Kyogre in the back. I don't want to lead either weather user, I think, immediately. I think Kyogre can be really good here, but it has to worry about Rillaboom, right? So the idea behind Ludicolo NINJASK is I get to flex the, like, switch on turn 1, right? Like, and I don't necessarily have to switch. One approach we could take is, like, Dynamax NINJASK, for example. Which I never thought I'd say in back-to-back games, but it's definitely a possibility. They're going to go with Groudon and Amoonguss. Okay, we have a really interesting play here, which is just switch the NINJASK out into Kyogre and target the Groudon slot. Seems too obvious, though. I mean, what's their counterplay? Like, if you don't have Protect on Groudon, you actually don't have counterplay, right? They're only switching to Geyser's Rillaboom, so yeah, I'm kind of down to go for it. Let's just Dynamax, go for Max Strike on a Groudon, and then switch into Kyogre. Having NINJASK to deal with Amoonguss in the late game, I think will also be fairly valuable, because Amoonguss, if it doesn't have Foul Play, actually can't really do too much to NINJASK, despite NINJASK being super frail. I don't know, like, because a fair amount of Groudons are Assault Vested, like, I'm down to go for this play. Guess I'm curious how fast Ludicolo is relative to Groudon. Like, if Groudon were max speed, that would be interesting. But, okay, yeah, they do correctly switch, so well done. But instead of Lunala, so, like, yeah, I still get a fair amount of damage off, right? And I can probably just KO it with Max Overgrowth next turn. But I think I just, like, even though we have NINJASK with Dual Wing Beat or Max Airstream, I still don't think we do enough damage into Amoonguss. I guess one other approach I could have taken was actually Fake Out into Amoonguss and just, like, Dual Wing Beat into it as well. Well, that would have been kind of interesting to think about, I think. But maybe Amoonguss protects here. They don't. Okay, so I'm probably eating up a Spore, which is less than ideal, but that's fine, because I think Ludicolo is so strong in this matchup. I just hope Life Orb Overgrowth can KO Lunala from that range. Yeah, they do Spore. The other debate here is whether or not I should switch out Kyogre right now. Yeah, I'm going to go for Overgrowth here, expecting Groudon to maybe switch in. I do think this is probably a good time to just burn a turn of sleep right now on Kyogre, because they're not really applying too much offensive pressure against us. If I were them, I'd probably go Amoonguss into Groudon and try to Trick Room with Lunala, but they're not going to switch. I hope Overgrowth KOs. If not, that would be really bad for me, but they're only at like 50%. It's base 140 as well. Okay, good. So that's great. Get the KO onto Lunala, burn another turn of sleep. The problem for me is that I've already spent 2 turns of Dynamax just to beat a Lunala, and that doesn't feel great. Okay. Kyogre stays asleep. Toxic? Huh. Can't remember the last time I saw that in VGC. That's interesting. Not too much of a problem for now because of grassy terrain, and yeah, it's not going to do too much, but definitely not an option I expected. Either way, though, we get rid of one restricted Pokemon immediately. If they bring out Landorus, well, I have Max Hailstorm for you. If they do bring out Landorus, though, then Amoonguss can pivot out into Groudon, and then Landorus can outspeed Ludicolo and Max Airstream it, which would be kind of annoying, but they actually just bring Groudon back out, which is fine by me. Okay. I think the debate here is interesting. Like, let's say you're Assault Vest Groudon, right? You Dynamax. Well, I could just stay in with Kyogre, and if I manage to wake up and just KO Dynamax Groudon, that trade seems fairly worth it. Ooh, I also have Life Orb Max Flare into Amoonguss. Ah, that is a little tempting, but I think it's more valuable to just target Groudon here. We have such a powerful attack into it right now. I do think I'm willing to stay in here, because it's like a 1/3 chance if they end up Dynamaxing Groudon where we can just win the game immediately, right? Like, yeah, the odds aren't super in my favor, but if Kyogre just wakes up, I would expect Overgrowth and Water Spout to KO, even with the Assault Vest. And even if it doesn't, it'd be at very low HP at that point, where they would get very little value out of Dynamax in general. So I'm down to go for it. Alright. Toxic is interesting, though. Nice, Ludicolo is indeed faster, so we get a Life Orb Max Overgrowth in grassy terrain into Dynamax Groudon. Okay, well that's not Assault Vested. It is so fun, like Dynamaxing Ninjask and Ludicolo and getting these big knockouts. So Kyogre did end up staying asleep, but yeah, the idea is, okay, well if you're not Assault Vested, then I just KO you, and if you are, then I wake up and... Understandable disconnection. Yeah, I think ultimately they needed to bring Landorus into this matchup, because their Ludicolo matchup was actually fairly subpar, especially by leading Amoonguss as well. So Ludicolo was just excellent for us here from the start. And if they had Landorus, then yeah, like I said, you would be able to bring in Landorus over Groudon, switch Amoonguss out into Groudon, change the weather, and then Airstream. So let's see their team here. Power, Max Speed Lunala, did have Wide Guard as well as Meteor Beam, Trick Room, Moongeist Beam. Assault Vest Landorus. Oh, it was only 120 speed, though. Okay, so maybe they would have struggled a little bit more into Ludicolo then. Life Orb Groudon. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. So that explains the item. Black Sludge on the Amoonguss. Spore, Giga Drain, Rage Powder, Toxic. Toxic being the more interesting option there. And then, yeah, just dual screens Grimmsnarl here. So, yeah. These games have been so fun. Okay, for this third one, we've got a Palkia Calyrex Ice Rider team with Stakataka, Incineroar, Indeedee, and Amoonguss. This very much feels like a pretty clear Latios Metagross team. Or, sorry, angle. I think my worry is any Amoonguss lead, though. Maybe I actually want to think about this a little bit more. I think their best lead, if they want to set up Trick Room, is just Amoonguss Palkia. Now, what I could do is lead with Ludicolo to click Fake Out. But I mean, I can Overgrowth, I suppose. Because basically, like, one approach I can do is, like, okay, let me try to deny Trick Room. But there's no guarantee. Part of the other problem is they could lead Indeedee Palkia. Actually, if they lead that, I really can't deny Trick Room at all, right? Oh, that's actually really bad for me, I think. Yeah, Indeedee Palkia lead here is definitely the worst case, in my opinion. Because I don't have enough spread damage to try to beat that. I don't have any super effective attacks into Palkia other than Draco Meteor, but with Redirection, it's very difficult to guarantee getting that off. Okay, I think I will go with Latios Metagross then, with Kyogre and Groudon in the back, but... Oh, sorry, I don't want Ludicolo. Latios Metagross, Kyogre, Groudon. But I have to say I'm not a fan of this matchup. I think, like, Ninjask is super weak into a Trick Room-oriented composition, so we don't really want to bring that. And I don't really feel super good about the What do I not feel good about? The Ludicolo, mainly because, like, it's just relatively frail as well. So it is Palkia. Yeah, and Indeedee. So nicely done by them. This is a clear example where it's like, okay, I identify what I think my opponent's best combination is, but I still can't really do very much to stop it, unfortunately. Okay, so there's Psychic Seed. Follow Me Trick Room is the clear play from them on turn 1. So what I could do is essentially go for like a Bulldoze. How fast is their Palkia? After a speed drop, they'll probably outspeed me under Trick Room, which is concerning. Because, like, I could choose to not Bulldoze. Yeah, this is really tough. Bulldoze, Dynamax. Okay, I'm going to go for Bulldoze Quake. The idea here is I get a special defense boost, which allows me to deal with Palkia a little bit better going into the next turn. But I think the problem is, like, this is a very clear Follow Me Trick Room going to Calyrex Ice Rider angle. And with me getting a speed drop onto Palkia, I am fairly worried about the fact that I cannot overwhelm them before they overwhelm me. Because then, like, they could flex between Dynamaxing Palkia or the Calyrex. Yep, so there's Follow Me. But this was my problem, right? I do not have a way to beat this lead consistently because, like, Ludicolo, if I bring it, well, I can't click Fake Out. I don't know. I could have gone for Earthquake there, maybe hope for crit. But I don't want to be relying on that this early on. And the idea is, okay, well, maybe I can make Metagross tanky enough where it at least can hang on. I guess my other problem is I'm not sure the +2 Quake even KOs here, whereas Steel Spike most likely definitely would have KO'd. Ah, yeah. Maybe that's not the end of the world for me, though, because it does deny you a free switch it into the Calyrex immediately. Meaning this next turn is a little bit more tricky for them, right? So they could just Spatial Ren, for example, now into Latios, but maybe I survived that with the special defense boost. Because Latios actually has some bulk here as well. Okay, I'm honestly down to just Draco Meteor then, and then just Steel Spike into the Indeedee slot. I think Indeedee surviving actually, yeah, benefits me a good amount, because it stalls out a turn of Trick Room. Whereas, if it gets KO'd, Calyrex comes in for free. I gotta be worried about, like, Glacial Lands, Palkia Dynamax, target Metagross, but I don't know. I think you can make an argument for both. Right now, I actually don't hate my position, but I think it's still fairly tricky. Okay, so they are going to commit the Dynamax to Palkia here, which makes sense. However, it means I don't have to worry about Dynamax Calyrex, which I guess is good. And I do have a special defense boost to boot, but now I wish I had gone for Quake rather than Steel Spike. But I went for Steel Spike to, like, try to get a defense boost before Calyrex Ice Rider could come out onto the field. Well, they just go for Follow Me. I mean, if they went for Follow Me Quake, that'd be nice, because I would actually get a Draco off. But it is just Wormwind, yeah. I could have contemplated switching Latios out there into Kyogre, but I don't think that switch is actually really worth it for me, in my opinion. The problem for me now is, how do I actually deal consistent damage into Palkia? I think generally the team we're using is just somewhat Palkia weak. Like, Metagross' best offense is Max Quake, Kyogre is Hailstorm or Max Lightning, Groudon is Precipice Blades, right? Like, the only super effective attack we have comes from the... I think we go into Kyogre here because it's bulkier, and Scarf Groudon is absolutely useless for us. That's a Amoonguss. Yeah, that's really bad. I think this is an example of, like, even if I played perfectly, and I feel like I haven't made, like, any super critical errors, but this is one where my opponent identifies, hey, Indeedee Palkia, it's super good, and no matter what you bring, you can't really stop it. I really don't see any way to deny them Trick Room with that lead duel. And that's why, like, Indeedee Palkia was this very strong archetype throughout Series 12 VGC, right? It's a little bit slower paced, but if you can get Trick Room up, it's really hard for your opponent to deal with it. Yeah, this is really bad now, because, like, they could just Spore, right? I think I just have to eat up the Spore on something. I'm going to Ice Beam and try to Quake the Amoonguss, but I expect, obviously, one of the two Pokemon to get put to sleep. It's going to be Metagross, yeah. I could have considered Max Guarding there, but the logic in not going for it is, hey, let me just burn a turn of sleep immediately right now. They actually Flare, okay. Flare makes sense here. The idea is, okay, you don't do that much damage this turn, but you change the weather, so Kyogre does less damage with its water-type attacks, and then in the subsequent turns, you're looking a lot stronger. Especially because this next turn, my Metagross's Dynamax will end. I guess that would have been an argument to go for Max Guard then that turn. I mean, Ice Beam does a great amount of damage, but I'm already a little too far too behind right now, I think. Unless Metagross miraculously survives the Flare, but Dynamax is over, Sun is up. I do have a special defense boost, but I'm not really counting on it. Psychic Terrain is still up, so I really can't effectively Bullet Punch here neither. I have to eat the Spores here, unfortunately. Like, yeah, our best bet of beating Amoonguss would have been just KOing it or bringing Ludicolo into this battle. I didn't love bringing Ludicolo, though, into a Palkia Calyrex Ice Rider matchup, which was part of the problem. So, what can I do here? Ice Beam into Amoonguss. I'm probably going to get hit by Spore here. Metagross, I guess, has the ability to wake up immediately and Protect here, though. Right? Because I got put to sleep last turn. Okay, yeah, I'm kind of down to go for the Protect. Stall out another turn of Trick Room. We do manage to wake up. Okay, that makes this game actually a lot more interesting, I think. The problem is they can probably get another Trick Room up in this match. I don't know. If I knew my Metagross Max Flare calcs a little bit better, maybe I'd be willing to just Earthquake there, but let's see how much this does. 144 to 99. So I definitely would have gotten KO'd, yeah. Okay. Dynamax ends now, so you're relying on Flamethrower onto the Metagross slot. I could go for a double Protect with Metagross right now. Like, one out I can see here is get the double Protect off, Kyogre wakes up and just Ice Beams KOs Amoonguss, then it's Palkia plus Calyrex Ice Rider against Kyogre plus Metagross. It's one angle. The alternative is to switch Metagross out into Groudon to take the... Would they Spore here onto that slot? Probably, right? Honestly, I'm a big fan of the double Protect play right now. I just think it's my best bet. If we don't get it, so be it. Okay. Ooh, I can't remember the last time we actually got a double Protect off on Road to Ranked, so I'm ecstatic that we get it off here. Yeah, they Spore into that slot. See if Kyogre wakes up. Flamethrower, yep. I just don't have a better play there, right? We do stay asleep, which only feels fair. Okay, Psychic Terrain disappears. Trick Room is gone now. So I've got +2 Earthquake, which I can use to KO Amoonguss and get some damage onto Palkia. I think I just Ice Beam and Earthquake here, honestly. It feels a little bit weird to self-Earthquake. I could have maybe positioned Kyogre into Groudon last turn. If I'd actually... Yeah, I missed that as a potential play. Because if Kyogre goes on into Groudon, then I get Precipice Blades Earthquake off the next turn. And I wonder if that's enough to just double KO both Pokemon. I didn't necessarily need to play towards the Kyogre Wake Up. Because with the play that I made last turn, I needed a ton to go right for me. They Rage Powder, which is totally okay. That's the idea of Earthquaking. Kyogre does stay asleep, though. Okay, that's not good. Decent damage. We don't KO Amoonguss, but... Ah, they're buried? Oh, that's unfortunate. I don't think +2 Bullet Punch KOs. Oh, but they don't Trick Room. They don't Trick Room. Okay. I think there's a good out then for Groudon plus Kyogre here. I think Trick Room is always stronger for them, personally, but... The thing is, now I've got Choice Scarf Groudon, right? So, I've got Choice Scarf Precipice Blades, I outspeed, I would KO Amoonguss, but I would need to wake up and KO the Palkia. We've taken 2 turns of sleep here. Ice Beam should finish it off after Precipice Blades damage, but we need to wake up here. Either way, though, it's like we put ourselves in a position where we could win despite a fairly bad matchup, and I also missed a good play, which was switching Kyogre out into Groudon the last turn of Trick Room. If I had done that, then I wouldn't have had to rely on maybe getting a little bit lucky with wake-ups. Okay, so they Rage Powder. Yep, but Groudon's faster here thanks to the Choice Scarf. So let's see. Precipice Blades does not miss. Beautiful. That's going to KO the Amoonguss, and it just boils down to whether or not Kyogre wakes up. It does wake up. Holy cow. Okay. So that's going to KO Palkia. Now it is a 2v1 against their last Pokemon. The game still isn't over because I can still miss Precipice Blades or Origin Pulse. But we are in a position where we certainly can win, and I'll take that. But yeah, I think if my opponent had clicked Trick Room with Palkia instead of Flamethrower, they would have won this game because I don't have enough to beat them Yeah, so it's Calyrex. So I can still miss Groudon's Choice Scarf locked into Precipice Blade, so I have to click Precipice Blades with that. With Kyogre, I have the interesting debate. Do I want to click Water Spout or Origin Pulse or Ice Beam or Thunder? I think for now we go for Water Spout because I can't miss with that. I think Spout and Blades might just be enough to KO. Even if not, Calyrex would have to either Glacial Lance or Trick Room, but not both. Oh, we missed though. Okay. Spout doesn't really do enough there either. Yep. They Glacial Lance. Well, live and die by Precipice Blades. In the end, that's an 85% chance to win the game. So we'll take those odds, right? I can still win off Thunder. What is my best win condition right now? I can Origin Pulse, go for a critical hit. Yeah, Origin Pulse crit. Like, they could miss high horsepower. I could go for Thunder into Paralysis. Para is what, 30% chance? So 70% chance to hit plus 30% paralysis. That's 21%. Crit is obviously slimmer, and I also have to account for inaccuracy here with Origin Pulse. So yeah, I think we go for the Thunder Para. Oh, but I'd have to get full Para on top of Para, so that's only 1 in 4. Thunder does hit, though. Okay. Oh, no Para. The Glacial Lance. I think this gets the KO. Yeah. I'm not sad about losing that one, though. I'm fairly happy about being in a potentially winning position in the end, and I get crit by Glacial Lance. But they were at +1 attack. It was single target. I think they would have gotten the knockout anyway, so I don't think that really made a big deal. That was a really fun game, though, right? In the end, we did an okay job playing around what I thought was a tricky combination. We had to get a little bit lucky to even be in a position to win, right? Because if I don't get the double protect off with my Metagross there, I probably just lose the game immediately. Amoonguss being buried, I definitely wasn't expecting. But at the end of the day, for bad matchups, right, sometimes you are going to need to get a little bit lucky, and at least, like, even though I lost that one, that's always one where I can reflect on and be like, okay, I am at least fairly happy that I was in a potential position to win, and in that end game, like, yeah, if I actually hit the Precipice Blades, we most likely just win that game outright, and so that actually feels good, even though we ended up losing, because it means at least we put ourselves in a position to succeed. And then the other thing is there are always better plays I could have made as well, right, especially, like I mentioned, Kyogre, instead of banking on a one-turn sleep, switching out into Groudon, I think would have been stronger for me there. I guess I was just worried they would cover for it and Spore into that slot, but I think Spore Flamethrower onto the Metagross, given that it just protected, makes a lot of sense, and I should be willing to take more risks there, I think, in that end game. So if a Groudon had come out instead, I would have been able to like double Earthquake there. Maybe that's enough for a KO. Even if not, at least Metagross is Bullet Punch pressure. So yeah. Either way, this was such a fun team to use. I mean, in the end, we got to Dynamax. What? No restricted Pokemon. I maxed the Ludicolo, a Ninjask, a Metagross, and so I can't be upset about that. So thank you so much as always for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Don't forget to answer the question of the day, and I'll see you all next time. All right. Peace.